My name is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That's fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the Channelmom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
Okay, today's interview, I'm going to invite you to call because this is fascinating stuff we're going to tell you about how to improve your family. And some of it's a little controversial, I guess, because some people may, I don't know, assume that it's too tied to religion or something like that. But I welcome those people too. Okay, so today's interview should get a few people going, as I said. You may take it as an indictment of the way some Americans are raising their children, but you may just want to soak up the incredible results that one particular group of people is experiencing within their families. And we're talking about a lifestyle that many Americans find weird, just plain strange. But that may be because they do not know the full story. This community of people has single-handedly avoided divorce and juvenile delinquency with such success that people are beginning to take notice of their approach to family life. The expert on all of this is Suzanne Woods Fisher, a delightful woman who is the best-selling author of Amish Peace and Amish Proverbs, as well as Amish Values for Your Family. Where's my book? I'll show it to the camera for the channelmom.com folks. And if this all sounds old-fashioned to you, just stick around because I have learned some amazing things from reading Suzanne's book. Suzanne is also a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 1, I believe. Welcome, Suzanne.
Hi, Jenny. Good morning to you.
Thanks so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
And you are a grandma of 1, right?
Yeah.
But too far away, correct?
Yes, always.
Yeah, Seattle or something, really far.
Yes.
Okay, let's just start with a little story that you told me when we talked, I think yesterday or the day before, that you got from a book that's not your own. But it sort of follows the same theme of your books about the Amish, about how people can live longer and better lives, partly through community. Tell me about that story that you read.
Well, yeah, in fact, you mentioned the fact that the Amish have almost a 0 divorce rate and, you know, that their children do not end up in juvenile delinquency centers. But there's even more. There's health and well-being. They have lower cancer rates. They have lower heart disease. They have lower depression rates than the general population. I mean, there's statistics that are coming out that are really, really quite fascinating to study because in our modern society, we've got the opposite statistics going.
Right.
Now, I'm going to tell you a story that has nothing to do with the Amish, but it's really an interesting one because it parallels the Amish.
Yeah.
Also in Pennsylvania came this group from Italy, from Roseto, Italy, and they landed in New York, Ellis Island, went to Pennsylvania, started a little town, very distinct little town. It was really Italian. If you walked the streets, that's all you'd hear, the bakeries, the families, church in the center of the town, homes, grandparents were part of the home. They were, you know, a valued member of society. In the 1950s, a physician named Stuart Wolf found that they had no heart disease in Roseto, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't figure it out. So he started studying it very carefully. He studied their genetics, their nutrition, their genealogies, their physician records. Couldn't find any reason other than outside factors, which was community. You know, again, church is the center. Older people are a significant part of a family. There was no alcoholism. There was no suicide. There was, you know, their heart disease was even less than he had ever found, whereas in America in the 1950s, that was the leading killer.
Yeah.
So I guess and that book, that came from the very opening chapter of a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Right.
Huge, popular book.
Yeah,
really.
My husband's a fan.
Oh, yeah, it's a really interesting book. That's how he begins his book. And it's what I realized after reading that was that's the same principles as the older Amish. The Rosettans had the same community holding them together that gave such health and well-being to their family life. Same thing with the Amish. The Amish live in their communities, tight communities, family matters. The church is central to their lives.
Right.
Older people are a significant part, which I think is so important. You know, as we're aging, again, the way we handle older people is very different. So, just the same principles you can draw in, and what I always try to write about in my books is you don't have to go Amish to bring some of this into your life.
Right. And I even admitted this to you. I was a little reticent about picking up your book because I thought, okay, only about 3 people are interested in being Amish because nobody, so many people think that's a weird lifestyle. But when I began to read the achievements in terms of satisfaction and hope and joy and love and well-behaved children and no divorce and so on, I thought, oh my gosh, I wish I could emulate this, even if I don't become Amish. So I was really impressed by the things that began to unfold in your book. And by the way, we are talking to Suzanne Woods Fisher, the author of Amish Values for Your Family. And it's just fabulous. I'm so glad you wrote it, Suzanne, because I'm going through it and almost taking notes and saying, this is what I want to do with my family. I don't have to become Amish and drive a horse and buggy, although that would be kind of cool. But I don't have to do that.
It'd be cool once, and then in the middle of December when you don't have your car heater.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, and that's the thing. I wonder how many people are listening today that just think, oh, that's all good. And I would love to have a 0% divorce rate and no heart disease and no cancer and kids who behaved. Because the kids are really good in that society, aren't they? You're not just making that up.
No, just to give you a statistic, because I think that always helps people really frame it, they have a retention rate in their church of 85 to 90%. In our modern churches, we are almost the opposite statistic, where kids that are going into that 18 to 30-year age, I think it's 75% do not attend church, even if they've been raised in a church.
Sure. Well, and here's the thing, and I really don't want to get on a high horse today because I don't want moms to think that I'm saying, well, you better be Amish and go to church every week or there's something wrong with you. But I do think, especially when we come along to 9/11, because I remember observing 9/11. I think at the time I was doing TV news. I don't remember for sure, but I think I was. And I was watching it unfold. And I thought, the whole world is going to get it. And they did for about 2 months, that God matters and that family matters. And suddenly all those other distractions of driving the right car and living in the big house and watching what Hollywood was up to and wanting to be like those people, the rich and the famous, all that went away. And people were going back to church and they were caring about their families and they got it. They got what really mattered. And then all of us, myself included, kind of got distracted as we got farther away from 2001 9/11. And we forgot that those are the things we really cared about the most. And don't you think that with video and movies and texting and all the other stuff, and I'm not condemning that all out. I'm just saying, where do we draw the line? And how can mothers who are listening today who are not Amish say, okay, what can I do? Give me a couple of tips about what these folks are doing that they have captured a really wonderful family life.
I think one of the best things to do is to just get clear in your family a couple of principles that are sort of sacred to you, that you're just not going to bend on. Now, if you look at the Amish, I think almost every decision they make, they have a very long-term view. How is this going to affect our family long-term, our church long-term, our community long-term? And that's why a lot of people kind of dismiss them, assuming they live an antiquated life. The truth is they actually do have a lot of different technologies, but they're very selective, very careful and slow to bring in something new. But oddly enough, you could drive through Ohio or Indiana and see farmhouses that are Amish because they're not connected to the public utility grid, so you're not going to see those big sweeping lines, but you're going to see solar cells and solar panels and battery packs and diesel generators and all kinds of ways of bringing energy into their home. So it's the same concept. They're slow to bring something new in. I think that's a really good tip for modern families. You decide what is important to your family. Maybe at the very least, it's Sunday dinner. We are not bending. Sunday dinner is our time as a family, period.
Right.
So before another thing comes in to your home, you just think, what's that doing to Sunday dinner? Well, it might be good, but it's not the best. And the good is the enemy of the best.
Right.
So I think that's exactly what this book is about. It's trying to help you draw a few principles that make everything easier.
Right. And it doesn't have to be boring, does it? I mean, I think we all think that our lives are a little more exciting than the Amish. But they actually live really interesting, rich lives, don't they?
They do. They have a lot of fun. They don't have television. They don't have computers. They don't have movies or entertainment, that kind of thing. That's true. And we do have a dependency on those things. But they have such richness in their life. They're incredible readers. I've never been in an Amish home that isn't floor-to-ceiling books. And books that would surprise you, Jenny, lots of books that we read, that are in our bookshelves, they have fun with each other because they really do things together. They, everyone knows about the barn raising, but there's more than a barn raising. They have, work days together. They have, if someone needs to paint their house, they're there. They plan it. They work together. And it's sort of a community thing. The women bring a lot of the food. You know, the children are playing. Their children are part of everything. They are not isolated or segregated or even tucked away in Sunday school. The Amish have church at home. My pet peeve is everybody has an assumption of who the Amish are. They're the fastest growing population in North America.
And by the way, I hear they're actually quite wealthy, that they've done pretty well for themselves because they are so conservative and sort of not spending and doing the credit thing like we do. And is that correct?
Yeah, they're very frugal and careful. German ancestry. They have just a real sense of frugality, they don't focus on the externals. In fact, I was interviewing a woman yesterday who is Amish, and I said, how do women age? How do they feel about themselves at 50 and 55 and 60? And
wow.
Because I know my age group, we're all working hard to keep our hair looking like we're 25 and our face look like we're 25. And she said, we focus on inner beauty.
And you said, yeah, right. And then what did she say?
Oh, no, they really do.
I know they do, but I mean, how do we do that? Did she say anything more?
Well, I think, again, Jenny, they're in a culture that affirms that and values that.
Yeah.
And so, of course, it's easier. And it's easier, even as we look at raising teenagers, there's parts of being Amish that are much easier. Their kids are not watching television. They're not immersed in a culture of sarcasm like our entertainment is.
Yeah, that's right. Suzanne, we're going to come back with you. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks so much. Now, we're going to be back with Suzanne Woods Fisher to talk about that unbelievable story that you probably saw on the TV news. Suzanne knows some of the people whose children were the victims of the Amish school shooting several years ago. And she's going to tell us some amazing things about what unfolded there when we come back. So join us.